welcome everybody to our very first episode of the Calaveria podcast. I'm Jose and I'll be your host as we venture into the unknown. I'm also here with my co-host.
Hey guys, it's Samantha. I'm so glad you guys are able to join us tonight. We have some spooky stories and I hope you guys like them.
So we're two siblings that happen to be a little too interested in the paranormal, and today we'll be focusing on paranormal/supernatural encounters that revolve around sleep, such as sleep paralysis, out-of-body experiences, and other strange encounters.
We gathered these stories from some of our friends and family and have even included some of our own. So let's get right into it.
But before we get into the stories, let's discuss the history behind sleep paralysis and out-of-body experiences. Sleep paralysis today is fairly common and widely known by many, but despite this, there seems to be many different explanations and experiences for sleep paralysis. Some describe feelings of being paralyzed while feeling pressure on their chest, while others describe feeling undesirable beings looming over them without being able to react. Nonetheless, this unexplained sensation is terrifying all the same. As far back as ancient Mesopotamia, the incubus was said to be responsible for these so-called bad dreams or nightmares. The incubus, directly translated from Latin meaning to lie upon, is a demon that would do just that, sit upon one's chest, rendering them helpless. The term mare in the word nightmare comes from the Old Norse reports of the incubus, known as the Mara, derived from the word marin, or crusher. Unlike the incubus, the Mara is not a demon, but instead is a person who, quote, rides their victim for the pleasure of pure wickedness, which would help to explain the feelings of intense pressure on one's chest. Clearly, there are many descriptions of what this so-called sleep paralysis demon is, but one thing remains: it is completely terrifying.
As for the out-of-body experience, they are typically seen as our soul/spirit leaving our body and entering the spirit realm with entities that are both good and evil. For many, this experience goes only as far as exiting their body and staying close by, watching themselves sleep. When researching the causes of an out-of-body experience, the focus is mostly on experiences of someone watching their own body sleeping. Scientists believe that out-of-body experiences are possible due to the temporoparietal junction, also known as the TPJ. The TPJ is the part of the brain that allows us to create an image of ourselves. With the TPJ, we can picture ourselves running, jumping, and doing any other physical activity. Scientists believe that disruptions in the TPJ is what causes the out-of-body experience, but they aren't quite sure what those disturbances are.
Alright, so now that we covered the history, let's get into the stories. So who wants to go first?
You could go ahead and go first.
Alright then, so in that case, I'm going to go ahead and start off with a sleep paralysis story. This story comes from my girlfriend's sister, Suze. So just to preface this story before we begin, Suze has experienced sleep paralysis throughout her entire life, ever since she was young, and it's very strange because this phenomenon usually kind of like drift off as you get older, but it's persisted in her life into adulthood. I know personally for me, it always happened when I was younger, but I don't remember it ever happening past middle school. But anyways, let's get into the story. So this begins with her waking up and falling asleep multiple times throughout the night, and she ended up noticing that there was an old lady standing by the door just looking at her. She described the lady as having long black hair, black nails, a pointy nose, and just overall ugly looking, but she did point out one distinct detail. She had a very nice smile. She stressed this smile to me so many times, so just imagine, just a raggedy old looking lady, but perfect teeth, very straight, just white, just beautiful, But she tried moving, and next thing she knew, the lady was right in her face. She said this never usually happens, and she only recalls one other instance in which an entity has been that close to her face, and this was when she was younger. She told me that this lady looked very, very similar to this person in which this happened to her when she was younger. And so, this led me to think, could this have been the same woman who stuck with her throughout all these years? She said the woman was just smiling at her and just gesturing with her finger to come towards her. She began to pray as the woman was trying to bite her. She ended up biting her as soon as she started to pray, and she was finally able to get up.
That's crazy. I personally never experienced sleep paralysis, and I don't think I ever will. And I just have an irrational fear of that happening.
Yeah, that is very scary. I've had sleep paralysis, as I mentioned before we started the story, and I've never had anything in my room, or I've never even seen anything when I had sleep paralysis. It's always just those like just can't move, can't breathe, that type of thing. I mean, I can't even open my eyes. So imagine just seeing something in your room and then getting in your face like that, smiling at you, telling you to come here or come with me. Like, that's just scary.
And that smile that grew, like, this horrifying face with that smile, it reminded me of this picture. Like, honestly, just like the perfect teeth.
Perfect, like something like that. Like that is scary. Like
it really is.
I mean, the fact too that she said that the only other time that something has ever got in her face when she was younger, and that it looked very familiar. I remember her telling me that the only difference was that the lady looked younger. And so I asked her, like, do you think this was the same person as the, what you saw when you were younger? And she told me, like, yeah, like same features and everything, just a little bit older. And I mean, it's just scary to think that this kind of grew up with her. I don't know. I mean, what would you have done?
I wouldn't know what to do, honestly. Like, that's just...
Right, I mean, so that was a very scary story. Thank you, Suze. Thank you for letting me use that story. She does have more, so, hopefully we could share those on the podcast. All right, so these next two stories are from my grandma. One of them is going to be a sleep paralysis story, and the first one I'm going to tell is going to be it's just a strange occurrence in the night. So to preface this story, this takes place at our late Tito and Tita's house. Our Tito and Tita are our late great-grandparents. This story takes place when they were both still with us, and it begins with my grandma seeing our Tita going into the restroom. I saw that she got up and went to the restroom wearing a nightgown. I was in the living room, so I told myself, I'll just wait till they get out. They took quite some time, so I decided to lay down. I later saw that the light was off and thought she must have came out already. That's when I noticed that everybody was asleep and snoring, so I went in and no one was in there. The next day I asked her if she had gone into the restroom at night, and she told me that she never went in.
That's crazy, honestly. Like, that story reminds me of all, like, the different stories they told us about Tita and Tito's house, how it's haunted, and just all the weird ghosts they've seen.
Yeah, I mean, that house is very famous in our family. There's plenty of stories to go around. But I'm glad you mentioned a haunted house and, scary stories, because that leads me to my next one. This is a story that takes place in a very famous house in our family, the famous T Street house. I was laying next to your tia, and I noticed that the curtains were swaying back and forth towards me. My eyes felt heavy. I felt like I couldn't open them. The curtains kept moving back and forth towards me, and I began to feel like someone was applying pressure on my neck. So I tried to reach and touch them, but no one was there. I immediately got up, got your tia, and went outside. The curtains were as still as can be. They looked like they hadn't moved at all. I even noticed that there was a pillow pressed up against it. That same room would have other weird and unexplained things. When you would walk through the door, it would immediately shut close behind you and lock. You could literally hear the lock, and it wouldn't open.
I never heard that story from the T Street house. I heard a lot more, like, from our Theo Lewis, that I'm pretty sure we'll definitely hear later on in the podcast, but that story is crazy. Like,
yeah, I mean, I know everyone would always talk about the T Street house. I personally never heard a story, or at least don't remember hearing a story. And when Grandma told me the story, I was surprised and I was scared, thinking, like, just weird how the curtains, swaying back and forth. To me, I kind of like pictured it as like something was breathing, applying pressure to her neck. That's scary.
Yeah, definitely. And like the fact that the door closed and you could hear it lock, like, hearing a door lock is so distinct. Like, you could tell when a door locks.
Yeah, I mean, just one of the, very many unexplained things that she said, would go on in that house. And I don't know. I would have left. I would not have stayed there.
I mean, they definitely didn't stay there, so.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. So, are you ready for your stories?
Yeah.
All right, the floor is yours.
So I have two stories, one from my tia and one from my friend. And I would like to start off with my tia. This is a very short story about just some crazy experience that happened to her in the night. She starts the story off by saying that she was asleep and she suddenly woke up. And the reason why she woke up was that she felt as if someone was in her room and she could feel this in her chest. And she described this feeling as just knowing someone was in her room, and she woke up looking around. And after a while of looking around, she also felt in her chest that this wasn't just anyone that was in her room. This was our Tito. Now, this was after my Tito had passed away. So for her to feel this deep in her chest, it was just very weird to hear. And she emphasized just how deep in her chest she felt it, that this person in her room was her Tito. But something happened. She suddenly heard in one of her ears, "That's not your Tito."
Oh my God.
And this isn't just anyone saying this. She said it was our Tío Luis's voice saying, "That's not your Tito."
Oh my God.
Yeah. I've never had something like that happen to me personally, where I heard someone's voice so distinct that I could tell it was that person. And just like, that's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I know you mentioned, and I mentioned it too, that, our Tito and Tita, they passed away. I mean, this story takes place after the fact that my Tito passed away. And the fact that she just felt that it was him, and then to kind of have something just confirming, like, hey, you're wrong, this is not him. And of all people, our Tío Luis, our Tío Luis has lots of different, like, stories with his paranormal encounters. So I think it's kind of interesting that it was him to tell her, like, hey, this is not him.
Yeah, definitely. And so, like, our Tia and our Tío, like, they're very religious too. Like, our Tío's a priest, so
yeah. So
like, I feel like that connection for them, like, it was just like, I don't know, it was just really weird to hear.
Yeah, and just the whole thing with just kind of having that strong sensation. I mean, like you said, I've never felt anything like that before. I've never really had anybody enter my dream per se, or even felt like somebody was there or felt a presence in my dream. So overall, I mean, that's a great story.
Yeah, definitely. But this next story is from my friend and her family, and it's just crazy.
Let's hear it.
All right. So I would like to preface this story by saying that my friend's parents, they used to work for this company where they would clean at night, basically, and the time that they would clean would be after everyone else had left. They would end up closing the whole entire place. And so this company would sell big machinery for constructions and farms. You know, they had all these models that were literally the size of the equipment. And so, yeah. So one night while they were cleaning, her dad was mopping, and so when they're cleaning, they usually are in separate rooms. And this is because of how big the place is. Like, they just have to split up and just go clean separately. And so her dad was mopping, and he suddenly saw someone pass by him, these legs. He was bent over, and when he got up, he didn't see anyone else there. So he tried following them. He tried following it in the direction that he saw them walking in, but he saw no one. In another room, her mom was alone, and she suddenly got chills. And then she started hearing some voices or like someone talking, and she couldn't understand at all, and she started getting spooked.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I can imagine.
And so they both had these experiences around the same time, and they both went looking for each other while they were cleaning. And so once they found each other, they told each other what happened, and they were just spooked out that they both had these weird experiences, and so they started to pray. After this moment, this is where the story kind of gets weird, because they go home after they finish cleaning. They're like, this is super weird, and then they tell the person that employs them, they tell that person, and that person tells them, yeah, so we've had stories like that before.
Oh my, see, like that would have been the moment I told him, hey, you know what, I'm out of here.
And so it's kind of crazy because the guy tells them that, yeah, so like other people that have done those shifts, like at night when everyone has gone home, no one else is in the building, they have to close up themselves. They've had stories where they've been pushed, they've been hearing voices, they hear someone else in the room, or they see someone walk by as like similar to her dad. And this is weird because literally they're the only ones in the room. They're the only ones in the whole entire building, not even just like in a room.
Right.
And so this was crazy that they had experience. And so the guy continues to tell them that they've had people quit because of how bad their experiences are in this place.
Yeah, I would be one of those people.
Yeah,
I would not stay there after experiencing that, that's for sure.
And so the last thing he told them, though, this is the craziest part. So I told you guys before, there was these big models of the equipment. It was literal big machinery for like constructions and everything like that. So one night, I guess when a past worker was working, they had an accident, and that worker passed away.
Oh my gosh, okay.
In that same building. And so people say that it's him, and it's like possibly other people that they don't know that passed away in that building.
Right. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
It's heavy machinery. It's dangerous, you know? Like, I could only imagine.
And just other words I've heard is that, like, people were upset with the people that employed the people that cleaned because they didn't treat them right. Like, they were kind of mean, they were rude. So imagine dying on the job with just, like, at a place where people didn't treat you nicely when you were cleaning the whole entire, like, building for them. Like, that's just, I would be so mad. So, like, hearing the stories about people being pushed, like, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a vengeful spirit, basically, you know? Like, yeah, like I said, I mean, I would leave, so let alone, I mean, if I died on the job, you better believe I'm haunting that place. Like, I would be so mad if I died at work, but that is very scary. I mean, do they stay at work there?
They don't work there no more because of, like I said, they didn't treat their workers that were cleaning the place nicely. Right. So they ended up leaving themselves as well. It wasn't because of that experience, but they definitely remember that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Did anything else happen?
Not to them, but they just kept on hearing, like, those different stories that people were being pushed. They heard voices. People were just feeling touches on them, and, like, it was just weird at night, basically, at that place.
Yeah, I mean, that's enough. I mean, I after that, I wouldn't want to experience anything else. But I mean, wow, crazy. So like a warehouse ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell no. No. I think this is a good time for us to get into our personal stories now. So, since I went first for the other ones, this is all you.
Okay, so I have 2 personal stories, and coincidentally, these both took place in our own home. And so, let me begin with the first one. This was around wintertime, and I had my fan on because I'm crazy and I like sleeping in freezing cold weather, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so, this night, I was trying to sleep, and I just couldn't. Like, sometimes I have really bad trouble of trying to go to sleep, and so this night was one of those nights. And I remember this night being just completely horrible. I don't know if I had a bad day. I don't know if I just was feeling off, but I felt bad, and I couldn't sleep. I had been having my eyes closed for maybe a couple of hours. I would check my phone every, like, few hours, honestly, and I just couldn't fall asleep. So I'm laying in bed, you know, having my eyes closed, and suddenly, I just see this pink aura appear in my vision. But it's not my vision. Like, my eyes are closed, but I see, like, this pink cloud almost explode, like, behind my, like, in my eyelids almost, as if I was seeing beyond my eyelids. And I'm trying to sleep. I'm just, like, confused what I'm seeing. I'm freezing. I feel my body shivering underneath my blanket, and the only thing that came to mind during that moment was my tita. Right. And that was the only thing I could think of, was her. That was the first thought, and everything else that I thought of that night. Because as soon as I thought of her, my whole body just felt warm. I felt safe. I felt comfortable. I felt tired. And I felt like I could finally sleep. Like, everything that I've ever felt went away.
Right, so, like, she was, like, comforting you, basically. Like,
yes, like, it just felt like a full body hug of, you're okay. And, like, my body relaxed, everything. And I want to say almost instantly I was able to fall asleep.
I mean, wow, like, it's like if she came to your rescue. I know you said you just felt this warmness and you were, you know, cold, and in the winter and the air on, like, you know, just, for one, I mean, I don't know why you would do that, but anyways, that's besides the point. The fact that, like, she was there for you, I guess, in the time where you just felt restless, and, you know, I know you were mentioning you didn't know if, like, you had a bad day or what was going on, but for some reason you just were up and you could not go to sleep, and in the end she was there to kind of reassure you, like, hey, don't worry, I'm here for you.
Yeah, like, I definitely hold that time, like, just that experience with, I'm pretty sure it was her. Like, I felt it in my soul, like, it was her. Like, I just hold that dear to my heart. Like, I think of that randomly, and, like, it makes me smile, it makes me feel warm. Like, almost like that moment gave me like, each time I think of it, I feel like that warmth again. Just, like, even just a tad bit. And it's just a really nice experience to have. And yeah, I definitely don't hear those stories that often.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I mean that's one of the very few that I've heard. I didn't even know that happened to you. I've never had anything like that before, but it must be nice to know, like, it wasn't something scary or out to get you, just something to kind of look out for you.
That's exactly how I saw it, honestly. Like something was just there to protect me. But let's move on to my next story. This story is a lot less nice, a lot less caring, a lot less warm. So I would like to begin the story with telling you, again, I was not able to fall asleep. And this happens a lot to me, but usually I am able to fall right sound to sleep after a little bit because, I just get tired and I fall asleep. And so I would like to explain that I don't face my bedroom door at all when I'm going to sleep. I have to cover my eyes because I'm scared of sleep paralysis and seeing someone just standing there. And this also stemmed from me going to sleep and feeling like I heard someone walking into my room. And what I do is often I just act like that didn't happen, and I just lay in fear and pretend like I didn't hear anything and just go to sleep.
I think that's a pretty good strategy, I guess.
Yeah.
If you can't see them, I guess they can't see you.
Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of my routine. I have to cover my eyes and just go to sleep. That's how you go to sleep. And so I was laying there, tired, finally getting to the point where I'm literally on the brink of falling asleep. When suddenly, right next to me, I feel someone sit next to me. My bed divots down.
Oh my god.
My back is facing the door, and this is like kind of like how someone can enter my room and sit next to me, basically. And so I feel that, and I don't tense up at first. I'm kind of like, just out of it, trying to fall asleep, and I'm like, what the heck is happening? But I'm too tired to care. But then something else happens. I feel a single finger touch the back of my neck.
My gosh.
And then it goes down. It starts to go down my spine slowly. But as it goes down, it presses harder. Just one single finger going down my spine to the very bottom. I feel it press deep and deep until I can feel its nail. And then it just goes away. At this point, I'm wide awake. I do not care.
Yeah.
I am not going to react to whatever just touched me. I don't care. I don't think it's anyone else because this is late at night. My family, sure, like we kind of stay up late, but they were all asleep. Like this was like a night that I was going to go to school in the morning. I just couldn't fall asleep. So like, it was just one of those nights. And at this point, I was just like, let's just go to sleep, Samantha. You're okay. This is okay. Like nothing touched you. Like actually nothing happened. And I just fell asleep. And in the morning, I was just like, what the hell happened?
It kind of hit you like, hey, this happened to me and I can't put it up. What'd you do? I mean, I don't remember you telling me, actually.
I didn't do anything at that point. Like I just did what my kind of routine, pretend like nothing happened and go to sleep. Because I feel like if you were to react to like either a ghost or a spirit or any entity that like tries to get a reaction out of you, they're taunting you to feed off of your fear or whatever. Okay. Obviously I was scared.
Right.
But if I didn't show I was scared, they were gonna be like, this person's annoying, and just leave or something.
so that's basically like you didn't want to give
I just laid there. I was just like, I didn't want to give them any reason to stay in my room and feed off of my fear.
Yeah, I mean, I would have woke up. I would have left. I would have, I mean, you're crazy, I guess, but yeah, I mean, it worked. Has anything happened like that ever since?
Nothing like that extreme, honestly. Like, I still sometimes feel like something enters my room randomly, and like in our house, like we hear footsteps. Like you can hear like when someone's walking past someplace like goes or something like that.
Yeah, like you can hear like the creaking, I guess, or just like I mean, houses make noise, so you hear the footsteps coming. So yeah, I get you.
So like I'll hear that at night, and I'll hear that like outside like my bedroom or something like that. I just try not to react to it and just think like it's nothing. Just don't look, and you're fine.
Okay, you say outside your bedroom. You mean like out in the hall, or do you mean like outside?
Yeah. So like not outside, like outside the house, but like in the hall, or like kind of like walking as if like, you know how like you could literally hear people taking like footsteps past our bedroom or towards our bedroom?
Yeah.
That's what I hear. Like,
okay.
So like it's a bit weird to hear because like it's the middle of the night. I know no one else is asleep, and I just try not to react to it because I don't want them to stay and be like, these people are gonna react, you know?
Okay, so I just want to say something, for all of you guys listening out there. Just so you guys know, our rooms are very close to each other, okay? And I don't really hear these footsteps that she's talking about all that often. So this is kind of weird, kind of scary, This is like new information to me because, yeah, sure, sometimes I hear it. Sometimes it might sound like somebody's there, but I mean, the way you're making it sound like it's pretty frequent, pretty often.
And like, to be fair, like I do sleep late, like a lot, but I'm just kind of like used to sleeping late, and so maybe the house is settling. I don't know, but sometimes I'm convinced it is either you waking up or something, or like I don't even know what walking around the house.
Okay, well, I mean, so okay, the room that basically your room, right? I guess this is a good way to go into my story. So, the room that you're currently in now, that used to be my old room back, when I was younger, like elementary school. Yeah. So, I actually do have something that happened when I was in that room. So, as I said, I had this room back when I was like in elementary school. I I was pretty annoying, to say the least. I was pretty bad, I guess. I got in trouble. My mom sent me to my room. So I went to my room, and I just remembered this room had a kind of like a little hook lock in the inside. So you could lock it from the inside, basically, inside the room. So I could lock it, but nobody can do anything from the outside. And so I remember closing my door, I put the lock on there, and I end up falling asleep. So sometime later, I end up waking up, right? I wake up and I'm like, you know what? I didn't even know what time it was. I didn't have a phone, obviously. I'm in elementary school, that'd be ridiculous. But anyways, I go, I unlock it, I try to open the door and it just won't budge. Like it, for some reason I was like stuck. So I keep trying to open it and open it and open it, and it doesn't budge. So I see that the light is going through from the bottom, from the hallway. So I look underneath and I see like feet, like shoes, like someone standing outside. So my first instinct is like, it's either you or, somebody else is like outside just holding the door, kind of like trying to prank on me.
Yeah.
So I, at that point I'm like pushing and pulling and, tugging on it and banging on it with my body, just kind of trying to tell the person like, hey, stop, like let me out. And eventually it just opens, like out of nowhere, it just opens. And I see that the hallway light is on. Nobody's there. All the lights are off. No other lights are on in the entire house. I go walking, I go to mom's room, and of course, she's asleep and you're asleep. And there's literally like no way, like I didn't hear anybody running. Like, Samantha was talking about hearing these footsteps all the time. You can hear when someone's walking in the house. I did not hear a single footstep, nobody running. I'm sure like if that was a case where it was, you or mom trying to like play a prank on me or mess with me, because I was so mad and I got in trouble or something, that like you guys wanted to, I guess, just kind of like rub it in my face even more, I would have heard it. And I didn't hear a single thing. And when I checked the time, on the microwave, it was late. To this day, I still don't know what was going on. It literally felt like somebody was there, was holding on to it. The door didn't even like budge a single bit. You would think like, you tug on the door, you can kind of hear it moving, the hinges, something. No, it literally was stuck in place as if somebody was holding it. And I don't remember, those shoes, I don't remember the specific shoes or anything. It never clicked in my head like, oh, hey, those don't belong to anybody, but I still don't know to this day. In that same room where you had that experience in.
Were those one of the nights that like our dad was working? Because he works late nights.
Yeah, so our dad works the graveyard shift, so that's why I mentioned it would just be me, Samantha, and our mom. Just the three of us late at night. And mind you, I forgot to mention this, but our rooms are like basically on the other side of the house compared to our parents' room. So that's why I said like if somebody would have been running, you would have heard that for sure. Like there's no way you wouldn't have been able to, especially at night. It's quiet. There's nothing going on. Like I said, only the light was on in the hallway, nothing else. So, yeah, I don't know. So, Samantha, were you playing a prank on me? Was that you?
If I was definitely too little, and I would have definitely turned on the kitchen light because I'd be scared to be running in the dark.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, our parents, even if they were to walk to our room, they would also turn on the kitchen light. Like, that's how I usually can tell if they're awake. Because they do it. Like, they turn on the kitchen light because the room is, like, close to the kitchen, you know? And the fact that, like, it was only the hallway light, like, it sounds like such, like, that's just so weird.
Yeah, I mean, to this day, I don't know what it was. And, I mean, I guess I will never know what it was. But, I mean, let's go into the next story. So, this next one, it takes place in my current room. So, literally the room next to, you know, your current room where this old story took place. But this took place when I was like in high school. I want to say I was probably like a sophomore in high school. And as Samantha stated before, we generally go to sleep pretty late for some reason in this house. We never have been like early sleepers or just sleeping on like a normal schedule. But for some reason this night I was pretty tired, and there'd be some nights where I would just play some music and just kind of lay down and just kind of hope that I would fall asleep. This was definitely one of those nights. I remember playing a specific song. For those of you that might know it, it's Break from Toronto by Party Next Door. Specifically, I just remember playing like, you know, the beginning, like just kind of like the instrumental basically is what it was, kind of sound like a choir singing. And I slowly started drifting. I kind of feel my eyes getting heavy. You know, I was in that state where you're kind of half awake, half asleep, you know, dreaming type thing. And I mean, I guess I just end up falling asleep. And in my dream, it's kind of weird. If you ever play Call of Duty, and you know, you play like Search and Destroy specifically, right? Like you're spectating the other person, you're like spectating them from like third person view type of thing, like literally from above, you know, you're not, you know, it's not first person. So I guess I was kind of like, in my dream I was floating from my understanding, and I was looking at somebody in this room laying down, and then it started to kind of like piece together that I was looking at myself laying down. I was looking at my own room, and I could hear the intro to the song that I mentioned, just this choir singing just constantly. And if you've heard this song, I mean, if you guys want to, like I said, it's Break from Toronto by Party Next Door. It's like a minute, you know, almost 2 minutes long. So it's nothing too, you know, like I said, you know, very long. So the song would end by then, and it was just constantly playing this single like part in the beginning, just over and over and over. And then I wake up. I get up. I always sleep on my side, so I turn over, and when I look over, I see like it literally like a figure in white, all white, just kind of floating at the like in the corner of my bed. And I just turn over like if nothing had happened, close my eyes again, and I open my eyes again. I look over, you know, kind of doing like a double take, and was like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and for some reason, instantly in my mind, I just told myself, the White Witch. But I mean, basically I had an out-of-body experience. Like, I saw myself in the third person sleeping, and the place where I saw the White Witch is what I call it now, is, you know, what I've been telling people. It was in the same spot, like in my dream, the same little area that I kind of like saw myself from that aerial view, and that has never happened before. And I mean, who knows? If it happens again, I guess I'll try to see if I can move around, but very, very weird. Very weird.
Personally, I've never had an out-of-body experience, and that just sounds like creepy. Like, to see a figure like in white after you had like that experience, like it just feels like that would feel so surreal after, honestly.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Like, thinking about it now, I mean, I'm always, you know, I've told the story before, and I always say the White Witch. I don't know why. Whenever we see spirits, we always like identify them as being white. You know, I don't know if that's just, I guess, Hollywood or whatever, but it was white. Like, it was, and yeah, I don't know. Very unexplainable.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. That's crazy.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it, guys. Those are our personal stories. Those are our family stories.
I think you kind of forgot one.
And what is that?
The Ring video.
You're right. You guys.
Okay.
So let's tell you about this one. Okay, this is something...
one of our most recent stories that happened.
Very recently. Probably like, I mean, what? Like about a month ago, right?
Yeah, like I recently had got back from college. Literally like the first week. Like I want to say even like the first couple of days like this happened.
Right, yeah. So, okay, this is, you know, about a month ago. Well, I know now this is July. This happened...
In June.
In June, okay, there you go. Yeah, in June. Our cousin, our cousin Morgan, she was staying with us because somebody in her household, they got COVID, right? You know, it's still a thing. Yes, everybody,
Definitely.
stay safe,
Still
please. Anyways, she was staying with us because, you know, she still had to go to school, still go to work, so she was staying with us in the meantime. And this particular night, right, it's like how you mentioned that it was one of the first nights that you were here, so this was on a weekend. And we all just were in the living room, and I guess we just kind of decided, like, we're all just going to sleep in the living room. And we were watching TV. We ended up falling asleep with our dog as well, our dog Honey. She's a beautiful brown pit bull. She was sleeping there with us, and yeah, we all fell asleep watching TV, right? Like I said 30 times already. But so you want to take it away?
Yeah, I'll definitely take it away. I remember like just being asleep. I think I was the first one to fall asleep before you guys, honestly. Like, and so I ended up waking up later on in the morning, not even in the middle of like the night or anything. In the morning, this is around 4 a.m. I check my phone, and Honey's crying. She's whimpering. You know, she wants to go outside, and that's because she needs to go pee. And I get up and I open the front door because we're literally right there. So I just immediately go open the front door.
Wait, I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and step in here real quick. Sorry, guys. Just to clarify, you did not just get up to let her out because I woke up. So I was awake when I heard her crying, and I was just like, man, I just don't want to get up because I'm tired.
That's nice to know.
And I looked over too, and I think Morgan was awake too. I think we kind of locked eyes and were like, oh, so I waited for you to wake up, which, you know, you did. And then you got up, and then I'm like, oh, take her outside, you know? Like, at that point, you open the door, right? And, you know, take it away. I opened the door. I'm half awake because I barely woke up, I guess, unlike you guys. And suddenly I just hear a voice singing, like a male voice singing. And we have the video for you guys to listen because we caught this on a Ring camera. And do you want to add anything else? I mean, so like she's saying, she hears someone singing, right? I was laying down. We were laying down on the same couch, right? It's a pretty big couch. Samantha gets up, opens the door, and she's just like standing there, right? Even Honey, like normally she's very like, when she used to use a restroom, she's gonna let you know, she's gonna cry, she's gonna, you know, just keep bugging you until you let her out. And as soon as Samantha opened the door, we all hear it. I look over, I look at Morgan, she's looking at me, we look outside, and I just remember thinking like, what is that? You know, it's very like, it kind of just, I mean, the first thing I thought it was like, you know, La Llorona, just kind of that singing, right? But it was a man's voice singing in Spanish. And Honey, I just clearly remember she was not crying anymore. We were all kind of like stuck, just staring out, just thinking like, what is that noise? And I just remember telling you, like, close the door. You were literally just stuck staring outside, and you wouldn't close the door until you finally realized, like, okay, yeah, let me close it.
I would like to say that I'm half awake, and I'm just standing there, like, trying to figure out what's happening. Like, I hear singing as soon as I open up a door. It's 4 a.m., first of all, and I'm just so confused. I'm like, I immediately just start thinking, like, is this singing, or is this, like, someone playing music? Like, I just stand there just trying to figure this out. And that's honestly what kept me stuck.
Yeah, okay, so
I
like,
don't know about you guys.
I get it. Okay, you know, you're kind of stuck, but like you literally, if you were in a horror movie, you'd be the first one to die. Like, you didn't close the door when we told you like 10 times. Like, at that point, we were awake. We all woke up from that, and we were like, what is going on? And, well, whenever, you know, you close the door, as Samantha mentioned, we have the Ring camera footage. We'll go ahead and upload that. You guys could see that on our Instagram. That's going to be at calaveriapod, CALAVERIAPOD, calaveriapod again. And you could hear it, guys. Like Samantha said, she didn't know if it was actual singing or like music. And as we mentioned multiple times already, this was 4 a.m. Okay? There's no parties going on. There is nobody's outside. Not a single car drove by, nothing, right? And so I go on the Ring to see what it is, because I too thought like, hey, is this music or is this someone singing? And I'm just listening to it, and then it hits me. I'm like, somebody is singing Mexican music, Spanish music, singing in Spanish at 4 a.m. at the top of their lungs. And Samantha's gonna go ahead and play that for you guys right now.
as you guys just heard, that was just some random dude that we don't know who that was just jamming out. He had vocals, but like that's weird.
Yeah, definitely weird. Like, I mean, hey, I don't blame him, right? I mean, sing your heart out, do whatever you please, but 4 a.m., that's just, no, like, I mean, you think about it, 3 a.m., that's the witching hour. 4 a.m., like, I guess this is the time this guy's out here singing and stuff, but that's the first time we've ever heard that happen in our neighborhood before. Definitely memorable, and I'm glad we caught that on the Ring camera.
Yeah, especially on the Ring camera, you could hear towards the end, the guy like kind of stops singing and he starts talking like normal. And you can hear more in the video that there's no instruments happening, it's just his vocals. And he sounds good, and that's why we're kind of confused, like, is it singing, is it a song, because of just how good that guy was singing. It's honestly just a crazy like thing to hear.
Right, and again, I mean, if you guys want to see that video, go ahead and check it out at our Instagram. You guys can see the full video. It's about like a minute long. We put you guys about like a 30-second snippet. You'll be able to hear exactly what Samantha's talking about. Definitely strange. And so Samantha, tell them about what happened after that.
So after that, like, I set out some pee pads for our dog instead of letting her go outside, because I knew she still had to go to the restroom. She just didn't want to go outside at all. And so I set that out, and I go to the restroom myself because I just had to go. In the restroom, I could hear clear as day the guy still singing. But when we opened the door, it sounded like it was from one side of the house, but the restroom was on the other side of the house, and I heard it more clearer. And so it's just very weird, like how like I was able to hear it like in two sides of the house, and one side sounded closer and the other side sounded closer too. It kind of like, it was almost like if the sound was encompassing the house almost.
Yeah, like okay, so you were in the restroom, right? I continued to, like, I guess, try to listen to it on the Ring. So we have a Ring camera on our front door and then like on another side of the house. So that was our Ring camera, like the actual doorbell one that we heard it on. And as Samantha said, it sounded like it was coming from like the back of our house, which initially, you know, thinking about it now, like it wouldn't make sense because our neighbors like behind us, they don't speak Spanish. We don't really have anybody there. Like, there's nothing really behind us because there is like kind of like an emptiness that's just like open lot. So that guy had to have been, you know, pretty far away, if it even was a guy. And if that's the case, if this was a real person, he would have been singing loud.
The top of his lungs.
At 4 a.m. again, guys. But when I went on the Ring camera and I looked at the other one that's facing the front of the house, it sounded like he was coming from the front. Which is what Samantha was saying, how it just literally sounded like it was surrounding the entire house, which takes me back to the La Llorona reference that I made. As in, like, you know, you hear her singing, you know, mis hijos, and it just kind of, you know, you can't really pinpoint where it's coming from, the direction that's coming from. I know I've heard different legends where, like, I guess, like, the Weeping Woman as well, where, like, oh, if it's nearby, she's far, and if it sounds far, she's nearby, that sort of thing. And that's literally how it kind of felt, you know, that's how it was when I was looking at the Ring camera and Samantha, you know, using the restroom, hearing it right there. And it's just very, very creepy, like, to say the least. And as we were talking about, you know, Honey, she's very persistent. She is a crybaby. When she wants something, she will cry until she gets it. She did not care. She used those pee pads and she went back to sleep because even she knew that was not normal.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you guys know, if you guys are into the paranormal, that dogs, some people, they have like a sixth sense. They're able to see things. They just know things too that we humans, we don't know. And so for her to react that way, just set in stone, like something was off that night. Or morning, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. And we've had experience like that before with our pets in the past, but that's a story for another time. And you know what? I think this is a good place to end. So thank you guys very much for listening to the very first episode of the Calaveria podcast. If you have a story to tell, feel free to email it in at calaveriapod@gmail.com, and you just might hear it on a future episode. All links to our sources will be found in the description below. Thank you all again for listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.